This is my recording for the English questions to answer. For the first question, do you agree that we should manipulate slash edit the human genome? Explain. I have to say that, like, scientifically speaking, to heal or to appease and find cures to diseases or cancers, you obviously discovery requires experimentation. However, I I don't think morally it's correct for what the scientists are doing even right now, because they're experimenting on embryos, which are still living things. It's just that they're not born or anything, and they never grow up. But it's still, I think that it's sort of morally wrong to do it. But I think that still it would be worth it for the goodness of humanity, and healing all of these things that theoretically could be done in a soon enough time span. What are the moral implications of creating designer babies through gene editing and CRISPR technology? Well, I guess the moral implication is that the initial DNA that was original and had never been, created before, made through conception, would be gone, because of designer babies, there would be less variety in humans, and I don't know if it'll affect personalities, but maybe one day we'll all just become bland, very superhuman, very healthy versions of ourselves, where there's no really any gender, there's no race, really, there's no um, culture or music. It's since well, I'm exaggerating, obviously. It's the first babies, the first CRISPR babies, they were just designed to not get HIV, but it's kind of a slippery slope, because once you start, when do you stop? You give them super strength, and then are they super healthy? They'll never get sick, and then where does that leave people, right? Because designer babies will obviously cost a lot of money versus the regular humans, but regular humans aren't always bad. They're just not superhumans. Um, so it would kind of push injustice between rich people and poor people, because only rich people could get those perfect babies. And what is perfect, right? Because if they're if they're physically and mentally perfect, never having any issues, they're quite boring. Not that having issues is a good thing, but um, yeah, it's really complicated to explain that everything isn't so simple or black and white, because it could be a good thing to cure one disease, but then trying to change the whole DNA of the baby is a lot more complicated, because I think that's what they said. One of the scientists said that using CRISPR in already born humans doesn't change their DNA. It just helps. It just changes a little bit of the RNA and the gene structure, so that a mistake that was made that causes them, I don't know, like hemorrhaging or something, wouldn't happen as easily, just like other humans, instead of being superior to other humans and starting to have a new version of humans. Um, and then, what do you think will happen if some jurisdictions allow for gene editing while others impose severe restrictions or outright bans? It is already happening in the world, not for the CRISPR babies or anything, but for things like abortion, where some places have very, very strict bans on it, and other places like Israel. I read this last week that you can have abortions up to birth for the baby, since we're on the topic of babies and stuff. Um, and obviously, people will go to the places where they're allowed to do what they want to do. Um, Not that it's a good thing; it's just that it probably will happen, which again is changing things, because rich people will be able to get these perfect babies, and then poor people are stuck with normal people, right? Um, and I don't think that severe restrictions or outright bans would be the first way to go. I, oh, it's in the next question, right? Some scientists say it is unwise to be paralyzed by fear of the unknown. Do you agree? Explain. Um, I don't think I totally agree with that because we aren't paralyzed in fear. People are concerned about the consequences of this because you're changing what a human is, not just what they are, who they are. We don't know how the people who are made from these CRISPR baby stuff will change and look different or will act differently. Maybe there's some kind of flaw in. Oh, it's like those the HIV babies, the babies that CRISPR that um that He used to not get HIV. They probably won't get HIV thanks to CRISPR, but in that same gene line, they might be more sensitive to I think it was the flu or it was another disease. So the risk factors aren't always weighed out, and we don't know until it happens. So that's why some scientists are calling for a wait time. I forgot the word for it, but I searched it up, and it's basically a time where you just focus on that topic, but you're not doing anything on it. Like they're not acting on it, not like He did, so that they can think out and let the world figure out what they want, what is right and what is wrong. Um, because science is going faster than the human can think, basically. I think that would be very wise to do. I think it would be the right choice because there just isn't enough that we know about this like this sphere of research. I think that having time to quote unquote like sleep on it or think about it in depth and what would happen to families and babies and stuff is not being paralyzed by fear. It's being preemptive. And if we have a better plan for what could happen, then we'd be better equipped to face whatever issues would happen because these are human beings, living things. It's it's much harder to mess with than you know uh, I don't know. It's much harder to mess with because it's not natural. It's on purpose, and it a lot of a lot of people will be affected by this. Not just the babies, but the people that surround them, and whatever consequences may happen, either good or bad, it will change. It will change humans forever.